Hey, this is John Lee Dumas, the founder and host of Entrepreneurs on Fire. And if you're wanting to learn how to embrace change and navigate through disruption as a leader, then listen to the Leadership is Changing podcast with my good friend, Denis. He's prepared to ignite.
Welcome to Leadership is Changing. Each week, we and our guests provide information and insights through exploring leading change. This is taking your leadership to another level by finding the balance between executive excellence and personal well-being through stories that inspire real change. It's time to adapt in our fast-moving world when leadership is changing with your host, Denis Giannoutsas.
Hey, welcome to the show, Leadership is Changing. What we as leaders know to be true is that change is constant. Leaders everywhere confront similar obstacles because people are people, but everywhere you go, leaders are overwhelmed, disrupted, and under pressure. They run from email to email, meeting to meeting. Many leaders are not changing quick enough, which means they run the risk of becoming irrelevant and being left behind. The purpose of the show is taking our listeners' leadership to another level by finding their balance between executive excellence and personal well-being through stories that inspire real change. I believe we don't have enough effective leaders in the world today, and if we can get the leaders to step up and lead change, then they can inspire real change. Hey listeners, it's now time to adapt in our fast-moving world. Hey listeners, welcome to another Ask Denis Freestyle episode. Great to have you here with us again this week. The Ask Denis Freestyle episode is where I'm asked a question by our listeners or share my thoughts, insights, and experiences from working with many leaders around the globe. Today's topic is an interesting one. It is called Stealing the Learning Experience. And I'm going to get into that very soon. But I want to welcome you and also say to you that if you have already put a review and a rating on Apple, thank you for doing that. If you haven't, feel free to go ahead and do that. I'd love you to go ahead and put a review and a rating. And on Spotify, go ahead and put a rating as well. All right, let's talk about this concept, the stealing a learning experience. I wonder how many leaders tend to tell someone what to do. And one of the Ask Denis episodes, I talk about ask, don't tell. And it's quite an interesting episode where I talk about how you actually use a coaching approach or asking questions and so forth. But I know a lot of you right now are probably thinking, well, look, it's just easier. I'm busy, and it's just easier for me to go and tell people what to do or for me to go and do it myself. And if I go and do it myself, I know it's going to be done right, and I know I'm going to get it done. Now, for a lot of you, you probably don't even delegate, or you don't delegate enough. And I know you're getting frustrated, and you just want people to get on with it. But I'm a great believer and a big believer in the fact that we need to step back and allow people to learn. You know, let's be honest. You and I are probably where we are today based on the opportunities we were given, or the opportunities for us to go and learn. And so why not give other people opportunities for them to learn as well? And so if you were given the chance, well, it's now time for you to give other people the chance to learn as well. But let's talk about the stealing the learning experience. What do we mean by it? Let's say you and I are walking down the street and we're going to go off to see the latest Top Gun movie. And we're really excited about going there. We can't wait to do it, and probably going to get some popcorn or some ice cream or something to have there in the movie theater. But as we're walking down the street, we see a friend of ours. And the friend says to us, hey, where you two off to? And we say, oh, we're off to go and see the latest Top Gun movie. And our friend goes, oh, cool. I went yesterday. Look out for this. Watch out for that. And look at what happens here and there. And then, so what they start to do is they start to tell us all about the film. And we sit there going, OMG, do we really need to go to the movie anymore? You see, they've told us about the punchlines. They've told us the storyline. And they've told us what has happened. They have stolen the learning experience from us. Well, they've stolen the movie experience. They've stolen the experience, full stop. They've taken it away from us. They haven't allowed us to go and actually experience it and take away what we want to take away from that movie. And the thing here that I find really interesting is that we as leaders sometimes are stealing the learning experience for our staff. You see, we don't actually give them always the time or the ability or the opportunity to go out there and learn things. And they need to learn things by themselves. They need to learn things in the way that they'll give things a go. But you know what? We can be there like a little child who's on a bike and mum and dad or the partner or the parents or whoever it is just behind them with their hand just behind the seat, but we don't actually have to hold the seat. Now, I know a lot of this is really easy for me to say, but not always easy for us to do and to sit back. But I think what was really important here for us is that we shouldn't steal that learning experience. We should allow people to have that learning experience for them to grow. I'm wondering how many of you as leaders today, in whatever level you are in an organization or in your own business as an entrepreneur, whatever you're doing, are you having learning experiences stolen from you? Or are you having any kind of experiences stolen from you? Well, don't let that happen. Fight for it, because I think that's really important for us all to learn. If we all can step back and allow others to have that experience to learn, awesome. Why not? If we can reflect with them on an ongoing basis to see what they learned from the scenario. Now, I always talk about 3 reflection questions. What went well? What would you have done differently? And what can you do, or what will you do differently now going forward? I think if you do those reflection questions with people based on the experience that they have, that allows them to have an even greater or more thorough or even richer learning experience for them. Because you see, if you take time out to do the reflection in conjunction with them having the opportunity to learn, well, that's when we do learn. Oh, but what happens if they make mistakes? Well, what happens if we can turn that into a learning as well? Making mistakes is not a bad thing. You know, I think that if you make a mistake, that's where you can learn. If you make a mistake and don't learn or brush it off or just be, don't think any much of it, well, what happens there is that means that is a lost learning experience for you. And I think that's probably a bit of an attitude as well that we may need to talk about, because every scenario is a great way for us to learn. I think for you as leaders, and for myself as a leader as well today, step back and think about which areas can you do, or what things you can allow others to learn from, and create those experiences, because I think it's perfect. It's just a great thing for us to do. Our role as leaders today are not only just to lead the team going forward or the organization, but it's actually allowing people the opportunity to go and learn through experiences, through making mistakes, through getting out there and doing things. And if we're out there doing things, that's where we can learn in conjunction with the reflections. That's where it can come to you, and you can do something with that learning going forward. I've got to say to you all that, I think a lot of leaders need to let go sometimes. And if you do let go, it's a great thing, because you don't want to steal that learning experience for them. And I think it's also things that we do with our families or anything else in our life, whereby we may be stealing experiences from others. We're not going out there to steal it. That's not our intent. But our actions will actually will actually show that we actually are stealing things from people. And it's just a shame. So listeners, I'm going to really say to you, listen, think about what you're wanting to do with your teams and how you wanted to develop them. Give them the opportunity to learn. Stop stealing that experience. I think it's a beautiful thing for you to allow to happen while they are also growing as well. Be there to guide them, coach them, show them, and help them move to the next level. If somebody grows and grows and actually builds on top of that foundation and other things as stepping stones to help them go to new levels, just imagine where they might be in 6 months' time. Just imagine where they might be in 12 months' time. Why not? So next time you get to a situation and you feel like, oh, should I step back and allow this person to have a learning experience? Yes is the answer. Allow them to have their learning experience, but be there to support them and be there to help them learn as they grow. Hey listeners, what we as leaders know to be true is that change is constant. Change is incredibly scary, especially with the unknown and unfamiliar territory. It's time to adapt in our fast-moving world when leadership is changing. Look out for the episodes as they're being released. Download them, have a listen, put a review and a rating. Feel free to share them with your friends, your family, and your network. Hey, if there's any feedback you'd like to give me about the show, or if there's a question you have for the Ask Denis freestyle episode, then send me an email, dennis@leadingchangepartners.com. Hey, listeners, it's always a pleasure being with you. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, bye for now.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Leadership is Changing with your host, Denis Giannoutsas. Each week, we and our guests provide information and insights through exploring leading change, inspiring executives and leaders to adapt and lead a bigger game in a fast-moving world.